Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Collegiate Academy Leadership Team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Master of Ceremonies, the Deputy Chief Academic Officer, Mr. James Waller.
Thank you and good morning. Let's once again acknowledge and celebrate our Friendship Scholars. Good morning, teachers, staff, members of the board, and honored guests. Welcome to the 12th Annual Community Convocation, a time to celebrate our past, our present, and our future. This is a great occasion filled with the promise of another exciting school year. We are all privileged to play such a critical part in the development of our scholars and future leaders. I'm reminded of a quote by educator and Friendship Board member Dr. Deborah McGriff that expresses how I feel about education, particularly how it is practiced at Friendship. Quote, "We must always go the second mile. We must go the first mile simply because that is what is required of us. It is when we go the second mile that excellence is achieved and minor miracles happen." That's the attitude that makes Friendship a great place to work and learn. And as we embark upon a new school year with new challenges and new adventures, I want you to always remember to go the second mile. We have a great program prepared for you today, one that will keep you engaged and excited throughout the school year. Our theme is Transformative Practice, Friendship Education by Design, which embraces revolutionary methods with back to the basics approach. It is how we prepare our scholars to succeed in college and in life. We also want to share today's Twitter trend competition by encouraging everyone to tweet throughout the program by using the convocation hashtags along with your campus hashtag. We want you to tweet positive ideas, quotes, photos, and feedback. So take out your cameras and begin tweeting. All tweets must include the convocation theme, Transformative Practice, Friendship Education by Design, and must be retweeted by an administrator to count towards the spirit competition, which you'll hear a lot more about later. So remember, it must be retweeted by an administrator to count towards the spirit stick competition. The official convocation hashtag this year is hashtag FPCS Convocation 2014. Each campus has a hashtag which will be listed during various times throughout the program. Hashtag Chamberlain, Tech Prep, Collegiate, Calverton, Cherry Hill, and community office way in the back. Remember, Twitter allows a maximum of 140 characters, and the feed will cut off at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m., all tweets that can be counted towards the Spirit Stick competition will cut off. So please remember to tweet often and encourage your administrator to retweet. And now, please welcome me in welcoming Friendship Collegiate alumni, Mr. Percy Goings, who will introduce our founder and chairman, Mr. Donald L. Hentz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Percy Goins, and I have the honor of introducing a truly stand-up gentleman. Donald L. Hentz founded Friendship Public Charter School in Washington, D.C. in 1997 with the goal of giving children in underserved communities a better chance in life. Thanks to Mr. Hentz's vision and relentless insistence on excellence, Friendship schools have educated tens of thousands of scholars with the support of the nation's best educators and administrators to direct students to college and a rewarding future. Earlier this year, to formalize Friendship's efforts to replicate its work outside of Washington, Mr. Hentz founded the Friendship Education Foundation to operate the partnership campuses in Baltimore and our newest charter, Friendship Capital High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In addition to serving as the chairman of the Friendship Public Charter School and chairman of Friendship Education Foundation, He is the treasurer of the Board of Directors for the D.C. Association of Chartered Public Schools and a member of the Board of Directors of the Center for Education Reform. He is also the co-founder of the Bridges to Friendship Initiative, which was highlighted by Vice President Gore at the White House Summit on Community Empowerment as a model initiative. Mr. Hence's dedication and achievement have been widely recognized. In June of 2011, Mr. Hence was inducted into the Hall of Fame of the National Alliance of Public Charter Schools. He was among selected Washingtonians showcased in the Choosing to Participate Portrait of Courage exhibition, which highlighted how civic choices shape individuals as they grow into active community members and global citizens. In celebration of Black History Month, Mr. Hence received the Amtrak Pioneer Award from the Washington Wizards to honor African Americans who have made outstanding contributions to the greater DC community. Mr. Hence received one of the most prestigious awards offered by Morehouse College, the Benny Award for Service, which honors alumni who have performed great acts of service to others. He is a graduate of Morehouse College and attended graduate school at Stanford University, where he was a Ford Foundation Fellow. He was a Rockefeller intern in economics at Cornell University, a Merrill Scholar to the University of Ghana, and a lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley. Perhaps his most important contribution to education in this country is the work he does today with Friendship. Hence has challenged and led Friendship teachers and staff to embrace data and track the progress and challenges of every child and take steps immediately to provide support and improve teaching approaches to reach those who are struggling. That is the highly unusual quality in Donald Hence, a man with a passion for giving kids opportunities who also know that there must be systematic
Now, you all know. Good morning. The most important contribution is that Percy is a student at Columbia University. Wow. So you know, every time I do this, I cry. And today is no exception. All it takes is 2 or 3 kids beating a drum, my leadership team marching. What can I say? Good morning. It is a privilege to be here again for our 12th annual convocation. To do this, I want to do my introductions first, and you all remember the last couple times I forgot half of the names, and so I decided to put them on paper this time, and I think I have misplaced where it is on my iPad. So it's probably Damon Metz's fault. But let me try. So everyone recognizes that I have no paper, right? Okay. We'll start with our Baltimore schools. Calverton, Ms. Martia Cooper. Cherry Hill, Ms. Tracy Garrett. Chamberlain, Mr. Maurice Harbor. Woodridge, Mr. Richter Craig. Mr. Craig's grandmother passed, so we offer our condolences to his family and to him. Blow Pierce, Dr. Jeffrey Grant. Friendship Collegiate Academy, Ms. Peggy Jones. Friendship Southeast Academy, Dr. Tawana Carr. We'll be next month dedicating our brand new Friendship Technology Preparatory Academy, Ms. Durana Tyndall. And you heard Percy say that we have a new baby in the family. Last Wednesday was first day of school, so our principal, Ms. Netterville, can't be here, but our team that did all of the work prior to school starting in Baton Rouge, led by Kimberly Williams. Kim? Justin Blanchard, who did all the recruiting work. Please stand up. Come on, come on, come on. All right. Thank you. Now I want to just go through the part that I didn't lose. A woman by the name of Giselle Martin runs a company that works with schools and school districts on such things as school improvement efforts. I take ideas from her books because she touches really the heart of what friendship is about. And I want to take you on an imaginary journey. I can only imagine. Imagine if everyone in school thought that what happened in every classroom to every teacher and every student was of such significance that quality learning was our most valuable product. Imagine if every Friendship Public Charter School staff member were vested in improving themselves and their students. Imagine a community where principals, teachers, and community members trust and respect the contributions of one another. Imagine schools where data-driven instruction is the hallmark of our work. Imagine schools where the success of the children was the only reason for being. What would that mean for how time was used? What would it mean in terms of interactions of teachers and students? What are we waiting for? What would students accomplish? I can only imagine. Thank you. We have really, because we don't want our spirit celebration dampened, we have sort of discouraged outsiders from coming because we didn't want them to think we were just crazy when in fact we're not. But one of our trustees is here, one of our long-serving trustees. Is it two of our long? Look here, what's going on? Miss Patience Tate, where are you, Patience? Baby, stand up, don't. Miss Carol Thompson Cole. Thank you so much. Now, let me introduce the people who carry the really heavy burdens for me. My Chief Operating Officer, Pat Brantley. Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Clara Canty. Chief Financial Officer, Catherine Sanwell. Chief Technology Officer, Damon Metz. My Chief of Staff, Kimberly Campbell. And there are other people who carry huge burdens for me that help things go right, and they are all here hidden. So I know I'm going to make Michael Robinson angry. Anyway, Gail Civils, our Director of Parent Relations. Sean Goff, Director of Corporate and Community Relations. For some almost 20 years of my life, Barry Lofton directed my life. Barry. For the last 15 years, Michael Robinson. French. All right, and you all remember we had our executive staff retreat and came back the next day, and my executive assistant was in the office working on Saturday night and had a stroke at her desk. And for 18 years, Mr. Joe Bettany. You all fully understand that everything that I send you is about keeping you informed about the important things taking place in our city and our country. And they're biased because it's typically just my opinion, and or opinions I agree with. So I want to continue that trend, and I invited today the chairman of the Education Committee of the District of Columbia City Council to come and say a few remarks to us, Mr. David Catania.
Good morning, everyone. Boy, these lights are really bright, Donald. These are really bright. All right, I want to do one thing before I give my remarks. I want to ask that everyone stand, because I want to take a picture and show the city what friendship looks like. All right? And if you want to cheer on the count of 3. All right, let's see if I can come around here so I get it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I want to first start. Well, I want to. Donald, you have put together a terrific organization. I want to say, this is awesome. Let's have a good time. That's all right. I want to say first thank you to Donald Hintz for inviting me here today, and for more than a decade of getting up every day and doing his best to make sure children in our city have an opportunity. You know, what I'm looking at is a sea of excellence. And it didn't happen by accident. It happened, and when Mr. Hintz was mentioning the leadership team, this school is excellent, this system is excellent, because Mr. Hintz was able to put together a team that is excellent. Not just the leadership, but the entire team, from the CEO right down to the folks who make sure that the food is prepared, the buildings are clean, and our kids are warm in the winter and cool in the summer. You know, I have had the great privilege of chairing the Committee on Education for the last 18, 19 months. And one of the things I wanted to do was to make sure that I was visiting with our school leaders. And so before school ended, I finished my 144th substantive school visits. It took me to Friendship. I've got a few more to do before this year is up. But my takeaways are clear. We can do this, and we can do better. And Friendship is an illustration of excellence that, in my opinion, doesn't get nearly the credit that you all deserve for the hard work and professionalism that you undertake every day you're in the classrooms. You know, I want to focus on one statistic, and I want Mr. Hintz to know how grateful I am as the chairman of a committee when we see a high school with a 95% graduation rate. Now look, let's have another round for the 95%. All right? You know, it's not easy, and this is not to, not to patronize. It's not easy. You all know, and you all know that many of the kids that come through Friendship are, not on a glide path that's easy. They're not from well-resourced families. They're not from communities that are completely intact. What you all do is extraordinary. And so to reach these levels of graduation rates, and of course that's the way we determine excellence in high school, but across the board, it is exceptional. You know, when I watch and go from school to school in our city, I do see often two systems. And I think we have to speak honestly if we're going to fix the situation. You know, we have too many children in our city that don't have the opportunity that you all give your students at Friendship, and we can do better. But even Friendship needs more. And so I was really proud last year to have authored this fair funding bill, because equal isn't always fair. Giving kids from affluent backgrounds the same resources as those who are from profoundly poor backgrounds may be equal, but it is unfair. And so to the extent that we were able to add, and Mr. Hintz and I were talking about this before, $5 million in additional resources because of the at-risk weight that I authored last year to make sure that children who are homeless or in the foster care system, who are on public assistance or on food stamps, or who are 1 year older than their peers in high school, the ability to have additional resources to set those children up to succeed is a civil rights cause for our city. And what you all are able to do with the resources you have is exceptional, but you can do more with more. And I want to leave and end by explaining why this is such a profoundly personal, as it is for all of us. I mean, you all have callings to be educators, love of children and learning, and a commitment to your community. This, for me, is profoundly personal because had it not been for a quality public education, I obviously wouldn't be here today. And I think the same is true for many of us. We may sometimes look different, we may talk differently, we may be from different parts of the country, those of us who live in the city, we may be from different backgrounds, but many of us come with the same struggle, it just looks a little different. My particular journey started with a single mother who did not graduate from high school. She was forced to leave school in the 10th grade when her mother died at 6 and her father at 16. At 17, she was married to a person who was particularly abusive. They raised police dogs, and the way he would control her was he would unleash the dogs when she would go to work. He would go to work, which meant no one could go in and she couldn't get out. And I think many of us can understand the strength it takes to survive an early orphanage and to an abusive marriage and to escape and decide that she'd had enough with the institution of marriage but wanted a child, and had me at 20 without formal education. It wasn't easy then, and it's not easy now. But there was a promise of a good education, which allows me to stand here today. And what we want for all of our children in the city is the same things that our mothers wanted for us, which is a chance. And I'm here because I believe in you, I believe in Donald Hintz, and most importantly, I believe in our children. We can do better. And I'm just delighted, Donald, that you gave me a chance to stand in front of what is a terrific organization. This is no accident. This organization was built through leadership and vision, commitment and heart. These are the ingredients that will secure our future. And Donald, thank you very much for letting me be here today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Deputy Chief Academic Officer for Friendship Public Charter School, Dr. Tanya Green.
Thank you. Good morning. Back in the late 1980s, Colin Powell talked about success with Ebony magazine. He says success is the result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty, and persistence. Those qualities perfectly describe our esteemed keynote speaker. Christopher Emden is an associate professor in the Department of Mathematics, Science, and Technology at Teachers College, Columbia University, where he also serves as Director of Science Education at the Center for Health Equity and Urban Science Education. He is currently a Caperton Fellow and Hip Hop Archive Fellow at the W.E.B. Du Bois Institute at Harvard University. Dr. Emden holds a PhD in urban education with a concentration in mathematics, science, and technology, graduate degrees in both natural sciences and education administration, and undergraduate degrees in physical anthropology, biology, and chemistry. He is the creator of both the #HipHopEd social media movement and the Science Genius Project, and was recently recognized as a STEM Access Champion of Change by the White House. Dr. Emden writes the provocative Emden 5 series on a number of contemporary social issues for the Huffington Post. He is also the author of the award-winning book, Urban Science Education for the Hip-Hop Generation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present our keynote speaker, Dr. Christopher Emden.
Good morning, everyone. You guys are turning up earlier, so I'm gonna ask you, I have to turn up for me as well. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, so I just want to start off by saying how much of an honor it is to be here to share some words with you today, and then to remind you that what I like to do, or what I aim to do, is always stick to the script and say what I've been asked to talk about. And so my focus is really going to be on transformative practice in education. Before I go further, I want you to understand, though, that the word transform, or to transform, or the process of transforming, it's not always an easy process. Transformation is painful and requires an acceptance of the fact that despite whatever accolades and whatever strengths we already have, to transform into a new dimension requires work, it requires energy, and sometimes it requires hearing some things that we may not necessarily want to hear. So as I celebrate you, I hope to also concurrently challenge you, because that is the task of transforming. You with me? So if I say something at some point that makes you really, really upset, just like walk out the room, go sip some tea like Kermit, and then come back, and then we'll figure some things out, all right? So I'm talking about this idea of thinking of our work as redefining friendship and re-understanding where the students that come before us are from. I'm a firm believer in the power and the potential of the hip-hop generation. I'm a firm believer, you can say yeah again. I'm a firm believer in the fact that when you go and buy an album, for example, and on that album cover there's a sticker at the bottom that says parental advisory, explicit content, that usually means completely stay away from that thing or whoever produced it. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that the same mechanism that can tell you to stay away can become the same mechanism that allows you to connect. And I'm rehashing or recreating that parental advisory, explicit lyrics content thing to become beware of progressive educational content. And the work of educators who truly want to transform requires a re-embracing of the same very things that we've been taught for a long time to stay away from. Y'all with me? I also want to take this approach, or this opportunity to say, I got my phone with me, so if as we speak there are things that are particularly challenging or provoking or that you might enjoy, you can actually tweet me directly and I will respond during the speech. And the reason why I will respond during this speech is to provide an exemplar of sorts of what the hip-hop generation is and does. A keynote address for the hip-hop generation is not spewing out something that I read. It is living and breathing the existence to reflect the beliefs and the understandings of the populations in front of me. So holla at me as we speak so we could get this done. Next slide, please. Now, I'm oftentimes asked, you can move the next slide. You can move, thank you very much. I'm oftentimes asked, you know, why is it that you do this work and that you advocate for hip-hop in this interesting way? And the reason why I do so is quite simple. Because I believe the one thing that we are not able to do in the most successful schools in the United States, particularly the most successful schools that teach urban youth of color, is teach them how to embrace hybridized identities. By hybridized identities, it means that this notion that to be academically successful and to be able to sort of reach the heights that you can in the academic and school domain does not necessarily mean an extraction of who you are and where you are from. And I say that to say this. That then requires an understanding of hybridity in every single piece of what we do as educators, from the teacher to the staff, to the folks who are ushering the kids in the school building every day. We have to be able to concurrently speak academically and speak in a language that reflects where we are from. The nature of what happens in academia is that we work oftentimes with urban youth of color to be able to reach heights that they may not have seen in their past. So we make them go every single year achieving great heights and doing better things and being better things. And what we forget to do oftentimes is as they go on to become better, we do not realize that we are concurrently teaching them to remove pieces of who they are from where they want to be. There's a misperception that the higher I go in education, the more degrees I attain, the more master's degrees, the more PhDs that I receive, the more times I get invited to fancy dinners with wine and grapes. It means then that I'm doing better and better. But the reality is, there is a deep issue within this nation amongst folks of color who receive an education. And that issue is this, that you go a whole long time trying to receive a formal education, and on the process of doing so, you never go back to your hood. And what happens when you no longer go back to your hood for long enough is that your hood no longer welcomes and accepts you. You become a person who's chasing an ideal that doesn't truly exist, and so you go on forever and ever. And at some point, you come faced with the reality that I'm knocking on a door for some folks who don't look like me or sound like me, who don't necessarily accept me to let me into their world, and they will let you sometimes all the way up to the door, but won't let you in. And if you get all the way to the door and you're not allowed to let in, and then you've separated yourself from your community for long enough, you are caught in a limbo where you have no home. And those who have no home are those who we view as those who are exceptional within our community. Why? Because they have good jobs, they make decent money, but they're such shells of who they authentically could be that it's sadder than not having an education at all. So when we go through this process, I want us to redefine this notion of friendship. When I say friendship, when I think of friendship, when I got the invitation to speak at a space that calls themselves friendship, I said, who do we want to be friends with? And the idea is that we have to be friends with those who don't have the same opportunities that we have because or by virtue of being in this amazing academic space. William Penn had this quote that says, "A true friend unbosoms freely, advises justly, assists readily, adventures boldly, defends courageously, and continues a friend unchangeably." So the questions we have to ask ourselves on the path to becoming friends and being friendship is, how are we unbosoming freely to? Who are we sharing our belief systems with? Who are we advising? Because we are in a space where we have information that others don't have. The work is not to become and create this club of amazing, beautiful things, and not to be able to share those ideals with those who don't have those same opportunities. Friendship is not to have friendship within those who are in the same space as you are. Friendship means to go back to the root and become and develop friendship with them. Friendship means understanding that as we stay in this space, we cannot completely celebrate where we are without an understanding of the dynamics that are going on in Ferguson. We cannot be in this space where we're focusing on academics without realizing that as the school year starts, young people need to have friends or be friends with folks who they don't see. They have to be deeply committed and committed to folks who are in spaces who are going through things that they have no idea how to imagine. They should be writing letters to those folks in those spaces. They should be thinking about Trayvon. We should be understanding the fact that these young people in front of us are going through a severe PTSD that can only be cured with friendship with those communities. And when I say PTSD, we oftentimes believe it's a post-traumatic stress disorder. But I'm talking about a post-Trayvon Martin stress disorder that has invaded the consciousness of young people. And sometimes when we're in these spaces where we sanitize them from reality, they become deeply entrenched in a deep depression and a deep misunderstanding of where they are because they don't have friendships with those in communities that can help them heal. Next slide, please. To do so, to have these friendships requires understanding this notion of a stem with no root bears no fruit. Stay with me now. A stem with no root. A stem with no root. You know, I love being around my people because sometimes when I say repeat with me now, a stem with no root, they will just say a stem with no root. Y'all know instinctively that you finished the sentence. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. My people. So, when we talk about a stem with no root bears no fruit, I bring to this work now where I am, how I position myself as a scientist and a mathematician, and this idea that, holla, you know what I'm saying? Because you know STEM folks rule the world. Just for the record, we make 26 times more money than the average citizen, so STEM workers. We know right now in California there are 1.4 million jobs in STEM that we just can't fill. So everybody in here should be cheering for STEM and seeing themselves as STEM professionals, all right? So when I say a stem with no root bears no fruit, it's simply this. When we talk biologically for a second, if I had a stem of a plant, and that stem of the plant is extracted from the root where it can grow, will that stem ever be able to bear a fruit? No. Why? Because it doesn't have the ground, it doesn't have the nutrients, it doesn't have, the things it needs to grow. At the same time, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, without a root, will also bear no fruit. The root that we're talking about here is going down to the dirt, into the grime of those communities to understand the inherent scientific and mathematical attributes of those who can be successful in STEM. Next slide, please. I push this further this way, to understand how folks before us have understood how to develop those friendships across STEM. So there you see the pyramids in their glory. Oftentimes, folks have looked at the pyramids as a powerful artistic endeavor. How were they to make those things look so beautiful? Well, do you know that decades and decades and decades and centuries even after the creation of the pyramids, there are still scientists and mathematicians today trying to understand the complex understandings of how folks were able to create those pyramids. What those folks in Egypt were able to do at that time is to create friendships between their artistic selves and their mathematical selves, knowing that as an artist, I'm also a mathematician, and I also have to understand the understandings of science and math in my communities, and that's how we're able to create the pyramids. They're not just artistic endeavors, they're scientific and mathematical endeavors. Y'all with me? I'm going to land in a second. If you see that second picture, these are of these tiles. And these tiles were developed by indigenous populations in Portugal. And these folks were creating these artistic tiles. And for a very long time, they said, wow, look at the beautiful tiles that were being created in Portugal by these people. Until we look deeply and closer at those tiles and realize that they were decoding mathematical fractals within the creation of the patterns within those tiles. So we had populations who were marrying and creating friendships with the artistic and the scientific dimension to create these things. That other clip right there, the little image right there you see, is actually of the first speedometer. The first speedometer, which is a mathematical and an engineering feat that came from a marrying, a friendship to arts, because the guy was just drawing something that he thought could measure something interesting. Y'all with me so far still? Next slide, please. And so when I talk about this friendship and marriage, I'm also talking about the necessity for a marriage to our history. And our history is oftentimes the root. So please play that video. So you look puzzled. Where did this dude come and play for us? This, to me, is a notion of a stem with no root, bearing no fruit. This is who we want to create connections back to. These are young people in New Guinea who have no formal education, who are counting. But I want you to understand the complex thing about this counting. The traditional mathematical base system of counting is, in Western mathematics, has a base of what? 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have these young people in New Guinea who've created a mathematical counting system with a base of 26. So when they count with their fingers, they keep going to these other joints in the body and going across, all to the point where they get to 26. So their base is 26. As they're counting, we usually think of the digits as the 10 things that are most significant. They're looking at other points within the human body between the two hands as significant as well, going beyond the digits. In counting to a base of 26, and by the way, the alpha system has, how many characters do you have in the alphabet? 26. You have young people without an understanding of a formal education, without ever going into schools, who are creating a complex mathematical system based on 26, aligned to an alphanumeric system, and then also saying it in what? Did you notice anything about what they were saying? Alpha, al-Qaeda, al-Mada. All those words were doing what? Rhyming. Through rhyme, different base systems, complex understandings of biological systems. They are recreating and rehashing and refashioning what it means to be scientifically and mathematically literate. They are contemporary versions of these young people right now in every hood in DC. Instead of counting with their fingers, they're counting in rhyme and counting bars. Instead of rhyming the numbers, they're rhyming in sentences. What would happen if, and here's transformative education, let's push this to another level. What would happen if we knew that this is a piece of the consciousness of the young people we are teaching, and we allowed that dimension of their understandings to be part of how we taught them in classrooms? What if we taught in meter and rhyme and reason and complexity and metaphor and analogy, because that's a piece of who we are as a people. Next slide, please. Let me push that further.
Skin I be standing 5'10", I be rocking it when I be in your vicinity. Raw style synergy, recognize symmetry.
You can pause that, I don't want to run out of time.
Broke them down.
Thank you. They beat me to it. They beat me to it. See, in that process of the hip-hop cipher that you saw there, and you guys all know what a cipher is, there's oftentimes a misperception that youth who are not necessarily engaged in what's going on in classrooms are the ones who are engaging in that cipher process. Well, we've been able to find that traditional Western education requires students sitting attentively, like you guys are sitting now, while I am giving you the information and you're soaking in that information. We have discovered that young people from the hip-hop generation actually, when they're standing and engaging with each other in the solving of a problem, are actually more likely to be engaged in the process of teaching and learning. As they are standing there in that cipher, they're giving each other positive feedback. They're giving each other head nods. They're not saying, excuse me, please pick me, I'd like to rap next. They're just nodding their heads more visibly and more forcefully and saying, And by virtue of hearing that and seeing the movement, the person knows it's time for me to curtail my conversation and give you the baton to speak next. This is a piece of the consciousness of the young people that you have in your classrooms every day. Sometimes teaching them to follow a norm that is separate from who they are actually means doing them a disservice in teaching and learning and forcing them. Wait, hold up. And forcing them to ascribe to a version of teaching and learning that is divorced from their authenticity. That piece that we think we're doing just by teaching them normally is telling them that everybody who does not learn that way, those who you see in your hood who are in those ciphers, are less than who you are, chasing an ideal that is separate from who you authentically are. Next clip, please play that. Now, I'm just saying. Let's pause for a second. What if we learned to understand the nature of a Pentecostal pedagogy? What if we understood that when we go into the black church, when folks are catching the spirit like that, there's a complex understanding of teaching and learning that is going on. What if you looked at that scenario from the lens of somebody who's understood a formal education, it looks like complete chaos and they're just running around like they're crazy. But within that space, if the preacher starts to preach and it turns down? What if when he plays that music at a certain volume, it means to turn up? What if he says, can I get an amen? And the church just says, amen. What if when he starts opening a scripture and he starts reading and he stops, everybody knows intrinsically that it's time for them to pick up the information? What if he looks across the cloud and sees everybody bored and he says, you know what, brothers and sisters, just get up and go hug somebody? Do you think he's doing that all the time just because it's the Spirit? Or do you think he's doing that sometimes because he has a deep, complex understanding about how our people learn? Now, what if as educators we adopted those principles concurrently with allowing kids to meet standards? And listen, don't get it twisted for a second. I'm not saying that we don't have rigorous ideals. I'm not saying that we don't have rigorous standards. I'm not saying that the kids don't learn formal information. I am saying that if they're doing those things and they're not doing that on their own terms, then what's the purpose? Then is it truly transformative? Back to our history, I want you guys to just read this, and I'm going to close soon because I know I've been going for a while. Y'all learn, when people invite me to talk, they're like, just give that dude an hour or something. But I want you to read this if you can. This is an obituary for a man named Thomas Fuller. Thomas Fuller was a slave. He lived from 1810 to 1890. He died at the age of 80. And read this as I speak, because it's another thing that we understand is that you guys can read as I speak at the same time. You ain't got to be quiet while one person finishes. Y'all don't feel me, though. So as we go through this, Thomas Fuller, the slave, was called the famous African calculator in his time. He was able to have complex understandings of mathematical and scientific constructs, although he never had a formal education. There's folklore that says that one day Thomas Fuller was asked to come out from the slave quarters, and he was asked to stand around a whole bunch of other scientists and mathematicians. And because he always could calculate things quickly, they want to say, this guy's not as good as he thinks he is. So here goes Negro Tom, which is what they called him, and he stood there without a pen or paper because he didn't know how to read or write. Then you had all these other scientists and mathematicians flanked around him with all their pens and papers and all their tools for calculating. And they said, you know what, guys? I want everyone who's here to calculate the amount of days, weeks, months, hours, and seconds in a set of years from, say, 1815 to 1819. And so Thomas, because he couldn't read or write, just sits there and he just starts looking at the crowd. And everybody else around him does what? They get their calculators and they're calculating and they're trying to devise and find the answer to the equation. And this is all going on. It's building to this feverish pitch and this crescendo. So that at the end, one of the guys on the side says, I know the answer. I know the answer. And he gets up and he says, the answer is, and he spews out an answer. And then humbly, Negro Tom, the African calculator, he stands up and he looks as well. And he says, sir, with all due respect, but your answer is wrong. And it sounded like, if it was nowadays, they'd be like, World Star in the background. Like, it was a movement, right? You knew something was about to go down, right? And so he said, respectfully, your answer's wrong. And the guy says, no, how dare you say I am wrong? This is the answer, and this is the calculations. And then Thomas calmly says, but sir, you forgot to account for the number of leap years within that period in time. Think about that. The point here is this. Giving young people the tools to be able to make the proper calculations, the iPads, the ThinkPads, the technology, does not necessarily match up to the skill set that Negro Tom has. See, Negro Tom was able to make that calculation by doing what? I would argue an earlier version of the art of freestyle, calculating in his head and making sure he understood what happened. Sometimes having the tools to be successful, having the materials to be successful, only allows you to not forget the humanity, which is people live every day through leap years. By understanding the humanity, he was able to make a more deep and complex mathematical formula. Y'all with me? Next slide. I'm going to close soon. Imagine this night sky. Please press the clip. And this is a sort of technological rendering of what a night sky would look like. Then imagine Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman sitting, looking up the night sky as a slave, wondering how it is that I can guide these folks towards freedom. And the stars are plentiful. And this mathematical or this scientific model is in itself complex. And oftentimes we hear about Harriet Tubman as this person who freed the slaves and this amazing narrative about what she's done. How often do we hear the narrative of her being a scientist? Because to be able to look at that night sky, identify Polaris amongst that simple constellation, understanding that that star then can lead to understanding how to go through geographic patterns to find a path to the north, is the kind of skill set that scientists today spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to recreate those models that she did intrinsically by just being who she is, by living and existing. When you understand that the students that you have in front of you are contemporary versions of Thomas Fuller and contemporary versions of Harriet Tubman, you understand then that to ignite their passions actually requires going to the base way of teaching and learning, which is just as organic as the cipher and just as organic as what happens when folks are catching the spirit in church. Last slide. Oh, this is not even my last slide, man. I was going to go somewhere else with this. Can I just talk about this real quick? Can you just let me? You know, I know I'm running out of time. Just for the record, there was a research study done by the National Institutes of Health that took young people who were engaged in hip-hop and who were in ciphers and had them hooked up to fMRIs, frequent magnetic resonance instruments, to find out what was going on in their brain activity as they were rhyming. The first discovery of the scientists was, oh my gosh, they have a complex vocabulary. That was actually a discovery. Like they don't use words when they rhyme, but that's a whole other conversation. The next discovery, though, was this. The medial prefrontal cortex of the brain, the part of the brain that controls active behavior, active learning, and engagement, was firing on multiple syllables, like on levels, when they were engaged in the process of freestyle. This is the part of the brain that controls learning. There's concurrently a different study that was done that looked at these same populations, which are kids who are able or more likely to exhibit hip-hop tendencies in classrooms. They hooked up fMRIs to them, and when they were doing this, they found that the dorsolateral region of the brain was acting funky. The dorsolateral region of the brain is the part of the brain that controls appropriateness and behavior. It's what's letting you know right now to sit down and not yell and scream as I'm teaching to interrupt you. Let's play this out. This means then that the parts of the brain that control what you want to be exhibited in formal classrooms actually get activated when they're in outside of classroom spaces, like engaging in hip hop. And that during the traditional methods of teaching and learning, the parts of the brain that control appropriateness and behavior are not acting properly. Which means that if we engage in the kind of teaching practices that are for others, and not for our young people, you're actually engaging in practices that force them to enact behaviors that allows the dorsolateral region to not engage properly in that classroom. When we talk about why there's so many suspensions of young men of color, and we oftentimes think it's a reflection of their inability to be successful within classrooms, it's actually it's a reflection of the inability of the classroom setting to be able to activate their medial prefrontal cortex, which is what's activated when they're outside of the classroom. Which is why I'm bringing to friendship today then that when we go into our classrooms, we are transforming our practices by engaging the kind of practices that will necessarily engage the medial prefrontal cortex. We're going to have them standing up. We're going to have them learning. We're going to have them engaged. We're going to have them walking and dancing in those hallways, because they could do that at the same time as they're learning their content. Let me close real quick. I'm going to close real quick with a couple of powerful quotes about education. Next slide, please. Skip that, please. You're going to have me back. Skip that, please. Skip that, please, because I'm running out of time. Thank you. We'll just close here with some powerful quotes about education that I want to leave you with, and that I hope charges you to look at this work differently. Albert Einstein, he says, education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Mark Twain said, I've never let my school interfere with my education. Tagore once says, do not limit a child to your own learning, for he was born in another time. And the final quote says, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. What I want you guys to pull out of these quotes is simply this. There's a big difference between schooling and education. We have done successfully, and I say we because once I met y'all and I met your leader, I felt like it was part of the crew already. But we have done successfully schooling. We've got kids graduate. We got this amazing young man at Columbia. I don't know why he hasn't seen me on campus, but we have to make that happen. So we've done schooling very, very well. And we've done well in that domain. Now what we want to do is want to educate. And to educate, don't read all the red now. Let's read just the white. Education is what remains after school interferes with your learning. Or education can be what remains after school supports your learning. I'll close with this one final quote by Anais Nin. It's one of my favorite quotes. She's an amazing writer. And she says, sometimes, or at one point, the time came when the risk to remain in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. We've done well, y'all, but we've still remained within the bud. What I want you to do once the school year begins is make the decision to teach differently and to allow yourselves and your students to blossom. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Tech Prep Summer Learning Ensemble.
Give me a uniform. Give me a number on my back. I'll give you the guts.
You matter, right? But there's a reason why I told you matter. I didn't tell you you matter just to hear myself talk. Like, I didn't say you matter because I wanted you to get on some emotional roller coaster. No, the reason why I told you you matter is because you'll never have, you'll never be, you'll never do. Listen to me. You'll never experience life the way you were supposed to experience life until you recognize that you matter. Now, it's important for me to let you know that you are powerful beyond measure. Listen to me, I told you last week because perhaps, I don't know, your daddy wasn't in your life, your mother wasn't in your life. I don't know, you didn't have a mentor. I don't know, but you may have never heard someone look you in your eye, look you in your soul, and tell you that you not only matter, you're powerful. I remember I remember sleeping in abandoned buildings, eating out of garbage cans. I remember coming home, bringing home C's and D's. I remember not living up to my full potential. When you do what you've been born to do, what you've been called to do, what you've been birthed to do, nobody can do it like you. Nobody can sing the way you sing. Nobody can speak the way you speak. Nobody can write the way you write. Nobody can love the way you love. Nobody can play that piano. Nobody can play that saxophone. Nobody can play that violin. Nobody can do poetry quite like you can do it. Nobody can produce the way you produce. Nobody can write scores the way you write scores. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You're powerful.
When you know within yourself that there's something you want to do, and I believe that all of us were born with a purpose, that all of us have something that we are supposed to do, that all of us have some goodness within us, and that goodness gives us a responsibility to manifest our greatness. And when you know that, you can feel it in your guts, and you know that you're deliberately operating below your potential, you've gotten comfortable, you stop expanding, you stop stretching, you stop challenging yourself. Let me share something else with you. Not only is it possible for you to have your dream, but it's necessary. It's necessary that you have it, that you work on it, that you develop yourself, that you go for what is yours in the universe. You decide, I'm not going to settle for this. This is not going to be it for my life. I deserve more than this. See, that will start making you do some stuff. See, a lot of people go to work every day miserable, and all they do is just talk about how miserable they are. But they don't do anything about it. What I've come to appreciate when you're working on changing your life, changing some bad habit, getting out of addictive situations or relationships, or working to build a dream or making a difference in our society, it's hard. Easy is not an option. It's hard living. Life is hard. That's rough. How people look at you, how they respond to you. It's very hard. But you know that in order for you to get where you want to go, this is one of the hoops that you have to flip through. So if it's hard, then do it hard. Now, how do you hang in there during the hard, difficult times, Les? You must have faith. You've got to believe in yourself. It's possible that we can have our dream. Yes, it is. Other people have done it, then we can do it. We fail a lot of times. Well, a lot of other folks fail, and eventually they came back and they succeeded. So it's possible we can have what we want. And we know that we want to get it. It's necessary that we align ourselves with people that think like we do. It's necessary we get negative, do-nothing people out of our lives. It's necessary we never stop learning and growing and developing ourselves. It's necessary that we never give up. Never give up. Never give up.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back our Chairman and CEO, Donald L. Hentz.
I am seeing a nascent spirit at Tech Prep. Now, before they get too uppity with a new building and everything, let's all think back a couple years when they invariably couldn't even get points for the spirit stick. Now look at them. And as usual, the most amazing people connected with friendship are the children connected with friendship. Thank you. Every year, I come at this juncture and I give the Chairman's Choice Award to somebody I think has done or is doing extraordinary things for this organization or its children. I do not consult with anyone. I don't accept recommendations. It's my choice. And there are a few former Chairman's Choice winners here. Can you guys stand up where you are? For those of you who are new to friendship and you must truly understand that you can earn it too, the Chairman's Choice Award is $10,000 tax-free. And it's my honor this year to give the Chairman's Choice Award to Joe Bettany. $18 years is a long time any place, and 18 years as my executive assistant must be like hell. But she has carried it off with great, great finesse and aplomb.
It's been a while since June 15, when I didn't know where I was going, but I was carried off in a 911 and taken to the hospital and stayed there as long as I could stay there and just surround people who has experienced that thing that I experienced, all the things that I've been through, that I went through. And I just thank you for praying for me, for bringing me back to the beginning. It's no way that you could know how you're going to travel. And I didn't know how I was going to travel, but God brought me back. And I'm so grateful, because it could have been, I could have gone away and never returned, but he brought me back, and I'm only at the beginning. I'm only at the beginning to do all over again what I did in the first place. So I thank you so much for the prayers, for everyone who prayed for me. I couldn't imagine where I was going, but I'm so grateful and thankful that you brought me back, and that as soon as I am able to come back, I will be back at Friendship House, a Friendship Public Charter School, Friendship Public Charter School, to just share in the joy of everyone who has been so grateful to me. Thank you so much.
Earlier, someone said, and it was Deborah McGriff, that friendship takes the second step. I want to just spend a minute to tell you how extraordinary our people are. When Joe was in the office, she was busy making travel arrangements for me and whoever trying to get me back to Louisiana. She was on the phone with Dr. Tanya Green, and Tanya noticed her speech slowing. Tanya got in touch with Sean, who got in touch with Simone, who got in touch with 911. They sent 911 from her home in Maryland to her church in DC, and finally, I guess through GPS, 911 discovered she was in the office, and Dylan Groover, our Director of Human Resources, went from his home to the office and found her there. Just think of all of the extraordinary things. This went on over a matter of 3 hours. All of the extraordinary things that people did that evening and how that turned into this level of good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Dr. Christopher Edmond.
They got me back, y'all. Unfortunately for us, this time, you don't get to hear me rabble on and on. We have an amazing panel for you guys based on leaders within this community. You know, the title of this little short panel is Leadership Focused on Results. And, you know, it reminds me of a quote from Albert Einstein that says, you know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so we have a bunch of school leaders here who are looking at different results and planning backwards. You know, rethinking Einstein's phrase so they don't fall victim to those same circumstances. You know, one thing I found in my work in school leadership, I was a school assistant principal for about 3 years and direct the center, is that, you know, the model for leadership is oftentimes being willing to do the exact same things that you're asking those who you are in charge of to do. And if ever the folks who are doing the work feel like you cannot do the work or are not willing to do the work, it creates a certain negative energy. But in this instance, we have folks who I have heard do the work. So they walk the walk and talk the talk. And so I think I'm going to just introduce them. So first I want to introduce Maurice Harbour from the Chamberlain campus. Also Peggy Jones from Collegiate Academy. Richter Craig from Woodbridge campus. And Marsha Cooper from the Cherry Hill campus. And we just gonna go to work having some conversations about leadership and what that looks like. Oh, so before I go sit down, can I just say one thing though? Like, it is very rare that you see this level of good looks in a bunch of school leaders too. You know, I feel like I should have rocked the bow tie or something. I feel like I'm not stepping up, but let's get this thing going, all right? Yeah. Good to see you guys. All right. All right. So this, to me, is a conversation. We're going to act like they're not here. You know, we're in the living room somewhere having a conversation, really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of school leadership and what it means and is. And so the first thing I wanted to ask you guys is, what is your notion or what is your definition of school leadership?
Well, my definition of school leadership is to, first of all, make sure that there is a very significant vision in which is shared by the entire school community, from the principal to the student, and that everything, an initiative that is set in place, ends in some type of student achievement outcome. So from your culture to your planning periods, your instruction, that everybody is involved so that our students can stand up, show up, make a significant difference, and be a success in their own world.
And just to add to that, it's about bringing the entire community together. So with school leadership, is the objective of the school leader is to make sure that the mission and vision of the school district, as well as the parents, as well as the students, as well as the community partnerships, are all engaged in and collaborating around the mission, the vision, the strategic plan, and that we're continuously always revisiting that plan, the academic plan.
So I'm hearing this theme of planning, and the panel is really talking about this idea of leadership surrounding results. So how do you incorporate what you want to see into what you expect folks to do? Like, how do you make that connection between what the results is that you're envisioning and then what the students and what the faculty and the school community are doing? How does that play out?
I think one quote that I learned over the years of being a leader, you have to inspect what you expect. And so it's really about making sure that you are assessing what you're expecting the students and the adults to do inside of the school building. I think it's pointless to set an expectation and never revisit it. And I have, as a leader, made that mistake before and learned from it. And so being able to reflect on that and design goals that align with our vision, and then design an assessment where we can go back and say, okay, are we doing what we said we're going to do? Because we got to keep the scholars at the heart of this thing. If they're not at the heart of it, it really doesn't matter.
So you said inspect, expect, reflect. I'm gonna coin that. I'm gonna steal that. That's mine now. That's powerful.
Let me get my change.
Yeah.
So just to add to what Principal Craig was saying, it's really around having a proactive approach to the issues that you face in the school, and being data-driven. We take a lot of time within the organization looking at our data, looking at the data of the students, and putting together a plan for each and every student within each classroom. And it allows us not to have a whole bunch of surprises, and that's part of our success.
You know what? Let me push here about this notion of data, because oftentimes there's a misperception of what data is. So people always think data is all the numbers at the end, or related to some sort of academic exercise. What is your notion? Because I could tell already by the kind of discourse that we're having that you're looking at data in a more robust way. So give us some examples of the kind of data that you're assessing to kind of get the results you want that goes beyond the number crunching. What kind of data are you looking at?
So aside from standardized data, what I consider mated is when a student shows up for coach class demanding the learning. So I know my own data and I own my data as a student. I know what my strengths are, but I have a weakness and I also have a goal. So teacher, it is your job to make sure I don't leave this building until I get it, and I'm gonna hold you accountable. So to me, that is where the proof is in the pudding and the data shows up in the classroom.
I mean, I would also add to the fact of just having conversations with students and parents is one of those data points that's not hard numbers, that allows us to get a feel of what's going on in the school and what we need to improve.
Yeah. And so now I'm going to go reverse, right? So we've talked about the aspects that are not the hard numbers. Let's talk about the hard numbers. Like how does the compilation of those kind of data sets, how do you relate that directly into your practice? What kind of data are you collecting that is reminiscent of traditional data, and then what are you doing with it?
I think we've gotten really good at Woodridge drilling it down to the as far as it can go, and we know, we're being judged off of assessments. And as much as we don't like it, it's the reality
right.
of where we are and the work that we do. And because we're being judged off of that, we have to perform.
That's right.
In that manner, and we have to keep that at the very forefront of our thinking when we work with our scholars every day. And one thing that I spoke to my staff about just yesterday was, like, you respond differently if you know a student is advanced, if they're wilding out in the classroom, because that's important. And you respond differently if they're below basic when they're wilding out in the classroom, because that's equally as important. And we have to, I mean, those data points, whether it's the hard numbers on the paper that we get when the PMF comes in, or it's simply 5 parents coming and expressing concern about a particular teacher or a particular student, that's all information that we have to pay attention to, and we have to respond to it. And I think as leaders, every day I get better at, you know, how I respond and the data that we pay attention to make sure that we're doing what's best for scholars.
Well said.
And I think that when we look at just the mission of Friendship Public Charter Schools, the piece of data that we really are concerned about is that it ensures that our students are ready for college and that they're graduating from college. And so, yes, part of the data is looking at our test scores, but we're also looking at any indicator that says that our students are ready to enter the world of college, they're not going to take remedial courses, and that they actually have the skill set in order to be successful.
Yeah. That's so brilliantly articulated between the two of you. If I could change gears just a tad, this is just me gathering information as well. You know, I've often heard this notion of the school leader, the school principal, as instructional leader. And I know that's a part and parcel of what it means to be able to do this work. How do you frame or position yourself as the instructional leader? What does that entail? And how do you show that to your teachers and the folks who come in, that you're not just managing the building, but you're leading the instruction? What does that look like? What does that feel like?
So I think you just said it. How do you show the teachers? So the difference in being an instructional leader and a clipboard school manager is that you walk into a classroom and you co-plan and you co-teach. So you put your clipboard and your data board down and you stand up and you plan with you jump into a lesson and or you plan with the teacher. And so then you get those teachers and that light bulb and that aha moment. And so when you come down the hall and go into a classroom, it is not, oh, here's Ms. Cooper, or here's a leadership team member. But Ms. Cooper, can you come in? Can you take a look at this strategy I'm trying? Can you play with me a little bit? And the students and staff begin to see you as a partner in this instructional piece, as opposed to just a supervisor.
And I think
you, you know, in your message to us, spoke pretty well about a level of autonomy that you want to be able to give to your teachers as the leader to be creative and innovative in what they do. Like we spoke about, we're held to this data point, but at the same time, we're also held to kind of making sure that these students receive the best education possible. And it doesn't always have to apply to a data point or an assessment score. So really, you know, what we try to do as leaders is afford our teachers that level of autonomy to be creative, to be different, and get the point across that way.
And I think equally as important, as instructional leaders, we have to realize that we can and it's okay to fail. And I learned that when I was resident principal at Southeast. That wasn't a shout out for y'all, okay? But I was co-teaching a SPED lesson, and the co-teacher that I was doing it with, we planned, and I was like, I gotta rock this out. Like, this is, like, I gotta prove, because the kids in that particular classroom, they were wilding. And we were trying to figure out, okay, we know like a good lesson will get them to behave. And so we planned, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go in and rock it out. And we went in there, and I failed that thing so bad. I mean, it was like the worst thing ever. And I knew all of the things that I had done with my classroom at Collegiate. That wasn't a shout out.
Yes, yes.
But with my co-teacher at Collegiate, like, we had an amazing relationship and we had an amazing classroom, and I was like, okay, so I can do this. And I went in and I failed, but it was what I learned from that made it more important for the scholars and for the teacher that I was co-teaching with. But it also made it easier for me to be vulnerable to fail again, because it's the learning from that's more important than a fantastic lesson. Absolutely. And so I had to realize that as a leader, I had to be okay with failing in front of the people that I was leading, because from that we can all get better.
Yeah.
And I think in addition, as an instructional leader, you also have the role of ensuring that you're helping to grow your staff members instructionally. And so knowing who your staff members are, being in the classrooms with them, collaborating with them when it comes to lesson planning, but also strategically finding out where they want to grow at and making sure that you're providing the professional development. And if you don't have the tools to give that professional development, to bring others in to help coach your staff members in the different areas of growth. I think that everything that we said is about changing your schedule.
That's right.
So you're not really engaged in the discipline portion as much, that you have other staff members that can own that piece, but that you're really, truly an instructional leader. You can go in, model, you can coach, you can actually take over a class when the teacher's not there.
Right.
You can provide professional development, that you are leading your staff members also in the areas of data analysis.
Again, such value point. You wanted to say something, man. I think I cut you off.
Nah, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right. Oh, that was just a thinker's pose. He was just thinking deeply about the next. So, you know, the two things emerged out of one, that the notion of being able to fail in front of people, and in front of your staff and your faculty, and this idea of restoring the humanity to the school leader. Because, you know, sometimes the school leader is supposed to be the robot. I think it's powerful. And this idea of learning with rather than for is powerful. But now I'm going to flip it a little bit. So I'm a firm believer in the existence of this thing called the affiliation and alienation dialectic that exists within schools, where the kids combine with each other oftentimes and affiliate to alienate the teacher. You know, so they'll start connecting to each other to make the teacher feel like the outsider so they can get over. But what I find fascinating in school leadership is oftentimes you will find this dynamic of the staff and faculty affiliating with each other to alienate the administrator, right? Like, you know, I don't know if y'all hear it, but like, here she come again, clicking down that hallway. You know, that kind of dynamic always exists. And so what have you been able to do to overcome this notion of the administrator is separate from and people solidifying their affiliations to each other by virtue of alienating you? Have you experienced that at all? Is it a reality for you? And how do you deal with that?
I think it's important to hone in on the leadership of your staff so that in some way everyone takes a lead in something in the school building. So there's a shared leadership and one team, one voice. So that's the culture, you know, that we uplift and edify in our buildings.
Preach, preach. I mean, I think, like, we're getting better at it every day. I met with my team leads yesterday, and we had a conversation about that. I think it's just about getting to know the people that you serve. Because as much as we want to create that family atmosphere at Woodridge as much as possible. Like, I'm from the South, so it's okay if your grandmother comes in and tells you what's wrong with yourself, because it's gonna make the community better. And so we try to do that as much as possible. It's difficult, right? Because everybody's not raised the same way. Everybody doesn't have the same set of values, but we come with our own unique set. And I think if we continue to be transparent, continue to be honest, continue to keep the kids at the center of the work, that kind of makes it easier to do that for one another. And so, as a leader, I try to get people to push me as much as I push them. Like, we have to sit down and you have to tell me what I'm doing wrong, because if you don't, I'm gonna keep on doing it wrong and thinking it's right. And so if we have that level of honest conversation, it's gonna be hard for me to swallow that pill, but at the end of the day, it's gonna make it better for the kids. That's what it's about. It's not about me, it's about the kids.
That's right, that's right.
So, at Friendship Chamberlain, one of Friendship's Tier 1 schools I want to point out also.
I'm not mad.
Go ahead, Harper.
But the point I wanted to make was part of our success has really been around creating that culture in the school where I don't feel alienated as the leader. You know, as an administrative team, and I think we all can agree to this, we value our teachers, and we let them know that day in and day out, that we value what they do for the students, for the families that come in, basically for all the stakeholders. And I think that message resonates throughout all the successful schools, and that's something that we kind of pride ourselves in doing.
So You guys, I mean, you should, I'm thinking you should all co-author a book on leadership, by the way. That's a whole other conversation. We should talk about that. Because you have very, very profound and unique insight into how it goes. I want to touch again on this idea of this distributed leadership that you talked about. This idea that every person in that school, or every teacher in that school feels like they're a leader in some domain or the other. How do you identify the strengths amongst your staff? And then how do you create the spaces where they feel comfortable entering into that leadership role? Because that's easier said than done. How do you make that magic happen?
I mean, I think, for me, the public acknowledgments for just the small pieces that you may find your staff doing, just like we do with our students, so those verbal encourages. Just yesterday, as part of our professional development, we stole a piece that we had gotten at our friendship planning conference. Each staff member identified themselves as a northerner, a southerner, east and west, and we took a look at character traits, and we took a look at some of the leadership roles that we want to see on every team. So people begin to take a look at their strengths and weaknesses as they grabbed the leadership roles that best fit their leadership style. And I think those things are important. I mean, so whether it be from academics to enrichment to athletics, just finding something that not only you can relate to each other with, but students can see you in a role outside of the classroom, also taking lead in.
I think another way is that with distributed leadership, we have distributed roles within the building. So with the curriculum coordinators, the lead teachers, the extended learning programs, you have the opportunity to be administrators even in the afternoon or on Saturdays. The other thing is that we have what we call our professional developments, where we take our teachers with the best practices and they present the professional developments and teachers can decide which classroom to go into. Another thing we do is that we actually do walkthroughs with our teachers. And so we find classrooms where teachers are proficient in the practice that we are emphasizing for that month, and we do peer observations. And so from all those things, we give our staff members the opportunity to show a leadership role. And it's actually tied into our Engage rubric also. So one of our indicators really talk about how do you take a leadership role in Friendship Public Charter Schools.
So, I mean, philosophically, I'm sorry, did I cut you off again?
Yeah, you did. But I also look at the schedule as creating the academic schedule, creating that time for teachers to come together as a team throughout the day, every day, and being able to give them kind of objectives like this is what we want to do here at Chamberlain, or we want to do at Friendship, and giving them some guiding questions to help them discuss that and then bring it to us as the leadership team.
On scheduling, because I think there's a big piece of school leadership that folks don't have a conversation about, is the nitty-gritty. How do you construct a schedule within the school day that allows for these sort of aesthetic, these sort of emotional connections that you want to breed, concurrently with allowing the kids to have all the courses they need and the advanced courses they need? I think folks want to hear about how do you construct a schedule that allows for all those things that you feel are important, over the course of an academic year.
Deep, deep, deep prayer.
I hear you.
Like real deep prayer. I hate master scheduling. I hate it because you can never fit everything into a school day that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So we have to be really, really creative. At Friendship Woodridge, an IB World School candidate, I do want to put that out there. Absolutely. With IB, it's mandatory that all of our elementary teachers and all of our specialists come together and look at the program of inquiry. They have to go deep in it. They have to make sure that there are no reoccurring units across the grade levels, but there's no time during a school day where you can pull every single one of your elementary teachers for 3 hours and your specials teachers for 3 hours to have that type of conversation. So you have to be creative to make that happen. So we do it during our IB incentives where we take all of the kids, they go do the planning, and we run that time, whether it's movie time or whatever it is, they can go and get that planning done. So you just have to be creative with it. It's not going to happen the way we want it to happen all of the time.
It's pretty straightforward when it comes to, because I'm at a pre-K through 8th grade school. It becomes very complex, but it's pretty straightforward as long as we can fit math and ELA in there, as well as social studies and science. But I think what we sometimes forget in scheduling is providing students with the opportunity to work on remedial aspects. So, you know, we've structured our schedule to kind of incorporate our intervention in the beginning of the day so the teachers have more time during class to touch the grade level standards, so to speak.
So at Collegiate Academy, which is the high school with a 95% graduation rate, we actually took a look at what were our greatest priorities. And one was ensuring that all of our teachers within their academies, the schools within the school, could plan together.
Okay.
So that allows them the opportunity each day for 73 minutes to really be able to get together, collaborate, and whether it's lesson planning, whether it is about test scores, data analysis, to make that happen. Another one of our priorities was to build community with our students. And so we ensured that we had morning meetings for our students and that we created time in the schedule to have town hall meetings, which are ran by our young people. We also looked at ensuring that we were giving extra time in mathematics and English. And so all of those things came into consideration when we looked at the block schedule and looked at how we could truly support teachers. So during those times where our teachers are planning, our students are being picked up by elective teachers from other academies. But we wanted to ensure that every single teacher in the academy had the time, Monday through Friday, to really meet and do the hard work that we're asking them to do.
And I also think it's about leveraging what you have and knowing what you have, because we focus on ELA and math, but we realized at Woodridge that we could also, of course, push math through science. And so having, of course, the teacher of the year at Woodridge campus, our wonderful Miss Beckwith, we were able to push mathematics through those classes and through the science classes and see our math scores grow and see how we can leverage like what we know we have in our building.
And if I can jump in, just in the importance of scheduling this year for the first time at Calverton, and while we're giving shout outs, Calverton is an elementary middle school, 100% of our students involve themselves in the choice application high school process, meaning 100% of our students at Calverton have applied to high school, and 80% of them got into one of their 3 top choices. And that's very important as we talk about college prep. But what we've managed to leverage during our school day this year, and we're very excited about it for the first time, is that we've extended our class learning time from 60 minutes to 90 minutes, allowing time for both the balance of increased STEM technology in the classroom. So we have put a laptop in front of every student, pre-K through 8. And we've balanced that with efficient collaboration in the room. So as we have a conversation, dialogue, and debate around mathematics strategies or language arts skills, it turns into a Socratic conversation such as this. So we're not only building leadership capacity, dialogue, debate, confidence in our staff, but we're also doing it with our students. And we didn't separate that from the school day. We made it a part of the school day.
I think across the board, such brilliance. It sounds like you have the things that you have to get done, and then you sort of collaborate to be able to construct the other major things, like, you know, the math ELA. And, you know, just as an aside, on my end, you know, I've always found that interdisciplinary instruction is always the key to it. And so if the hyper focus is on math and on ELA, it's about having kids learn math through science, learn English skills through history and through social studies. When we start doing instruction and each of the domains are so separate from each other, we do the kids a disservice because there's no interconnectedness. But you know, that's just a side, it's just a plug. You know, the last thing I want to ask, if this last thing, it might have some more space, but I'm always curious about, again, restoring the humanity to you people. So people see you, you know, you're well dressed and, you know, you're articulate and smooth, you know, your bald head shine and all that. And I think people want to know, you know, I don't got that glow. I wish I had that glow, you know. But people want to know, what's your leadership story? You know, what brought you to being the school leader you are today? What's the narrative? Sometimes we learn so much more from folks. You know, we learn less about what they do, and we learn more about how they got there. So, you know, if we could start here and just talk about what brought you to this work.
Well, it's just really, in a lot of ways, it was kind of a calling. My mom was a teacher. I wanted to do everything but be in the classroom at some point when I was in college. but I found myself always gravitating toward that aspect during my summer internships and then my teaching kind of residency. In terms of my leadership trajectory, it was a situation where I was in a position where I was at a school, and this school just needed someone to step up. And I just took it upon myself to kind of step up and step into that role, and I became a leader of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade mathematics. So I'm a math teacher.
Okay, get down on that one.
Yeah. But I think I really found my leadership calling when I did, continue in my master's program, where I was given the opportunities and put in scenarios and things of that nature to really see the impact that I can make being a principal of a school. And ever since then, this is all I wanted to do.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I actually started in engineering. I didn't think I was going to
All these STEM folks on this panel, I know it. Yeah.
But everything I did when I was a young person dealt with young people. So I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a director of 2 children choirs. I was a member of the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute. I was really engaged in different youth activities within DC. And so after college, I thought I was going to engineering. But everything I did was centered around young people. And so as soon as I graduated, I figured out I wanted to start teaching. I taught math and engineering at that time. I never wanted to be an administrator.
Really?
And so I think in 2006, when my principal left, he asked me if I was interested, and I stepped up to moving into that position. I love teaching, and I love teaching others how to teach. So I would probably say it just came by appointment. I enjoy what I'm doing, but I also enjoy being in classrooms with other teachers.
Love it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so for me, I'm one of 8 children, and I was the first person in my family to go to college and graduate college. And both of my parents went, but they didn't finish. And it's quite interesting because I was the only one of my siblings that went to a school that was not considered our zone neighborhood school. And the difference in my education and the education that they received and our life trajectory was, it was amazing. And you talk about the divide of the haves and the have-nots in the district and across the country. It was at my table, it was at my dinner table.
Right.
And so I vowed to myself that I would not let that happen to the scholars that I serve, whether it's in the classroom or leading a school, because there's a hell of a difference when you have people, adults in front of you that actually care. And there's a hell of a difference when you know that the adult standing in front of you doesn't give a damn about you learning the material and passing a test. And my siblings' teachers didn't at all. And they struggled, and they still struggle to this day. And to see that over all these years, I could not allow myself to stand in front of a child and not give them my all and not give them my best. And so when I still keep in contact with the kids that I taught at collegiate, and to think about all the stuff that they went through to get to school, like just to step in the building, we owe them our all, because it's not, and I'm not saying it's just okay to come, but I have never been in the shoes that they have, the things that they have seen, the things they saw, I get a little emotional about this, I'm sorry. But I can't put myself in their shoes, and I can't say that I understand the things that they go through. But when they come in the building and they come with a smile on their face, and the only thing they expect is to leave with more than they came with, who are we not to do our job? Who are we not to give them our all? And so for me, it's just about instilling that passion into them, and it brings a smile to my face when I see the old kids that I taught that are now teaching our kids here at Friendship. Like that really makes me happy. So it's all about that for me.
Sis, I'm gonna get to you in just one second, but I just wanted to just pick up a powerful theme. Well, the first theme that I wanted to pull out is, just a plug. When you get training in the STEM disciplines and you train young people to be successful in those disciplines, It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to choose those disciplines as careers, but what it does mean is that it develops a certain mindset and a mode of thinking, a certain organized way of looking at the world that allows them to be successful in other domains. That's the first, this is my STEM plug. And then the second thing is this, and this is something that drives my work as well, and it really spoke to me when you talked about the passion you have for your work, is how important it is for us to be able to shift how we look at young people. Oftentimes in the world of education, we have a misperception that kids who are, urban youth of color are not, you say they're not resilient enough to really work through the hard class. Well, what about the resilience that they exhibit just to get to the school? Mm-hmm. And so the issue is not the absence of the skill set. Mm-hmm. The issue is in the application of that skill set to an academic discipline. Mm-hmm. And so the work of the educator is then to unearth the skill set that already exists and have it to be applied towards academic success. And you just reminded me of that, and that was brilliant. And then now, sis, tell us your journey, because you're a ball of energy, so I know it's a great story.
Okay, just piggybacking really quickly off of what you just said, I too am a product of a high school in Baltimore City that is a STEM-focused, it is the STEM-focused high school in Baltimore. And when we sat in a mathematics class, we were not given the mathematic formula. We were given a problem, and we had to develop the formula. And that type of critical thinking and analysis has taken me to today. So I understand the new Common Core wave and not giving the formula to students and allowing students to be able to analyze, come up with it, debate it, even if it's wrong initially, but when they receive it, they appreciate it because they worked for it. So that's number one. But into my background, my mom was a cosmetologist, and I was, interestingly enough, born and raised in the community that I am now the principal in that exact community. I now own her hair salon in that exact community, and all of my students roll through my hair salon on weekend. So I never left my hood.
I love it.
Even though I live outside my hood, I never left my hood.
Right.
And I am a visionary. I believe it is a blessing and a curse that I am never satisfied. I am always looking at what's to come, what can be. While I want to talk about what our students have to step over to get to school, I want to talk about their resiliency. I want to talk about their gifts. I want to talk about their strengths. I don't want to take it easy on them. I don't want to patronize them. Our students are strong. They can, they will, if we show them. That's it. And I got to where I am because, as you can see, I'm very passionate. Everything I do, I don't do it 100. I do it 110.
Real quick.
And I do it always looking at how can we look better, how can we do it better, how can we get better results, and I edify my students to do the same thing, to have that same type of drive, goal, and passion, and to take themselves that seriously.
I mean, I genuinely could sit and talk to y'all all day. Plus, I knew somebody in your family was doing hair because her hair is tight. Like, when they say her hair, you see her do the little Beyonce flip? Did you see that real quick? I think, I don't know how I am on time because I can stay. I know I'm supposed to have 2 panels. Do I have 2 panels or just this one? 2? Am I okay on time? I can't see with them lights in my eye. We done? It's a wrap? I'm sorry. So, first of all, can we just give a rousing round of applause for this brilliant panel of school leaders. Now, I'm clapping for y'all. You sit while we clap for you. Thank you so much. And we're going to have a different panel, but thank you so much for joining us for this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
So they'll figure it out. We'll be all right. So now, should I go back to the podium or just sit here? I feel odd just sitting here. There's another amazing panel that we have. We need another signal to let me know when I'm out of time, guys. But we got Dr. Tawana Carr from Southeast Campus. Dr. Jeffrey Grant from the Blow Pierce campus. Durana Tyndall from the Tech Prep campus. Tracy Garrett from the Calverton campus. And Kimberly Williams from the Capitol High School campus. And our conversation is going to revolve around developing a culture of achievement. Ooh, look at them Gucci shoes. Those are mean, bruh. Okay. All right.
All right.
I just wish I knew like one of those chairs so I could.
Southeast Scholars.
Huh?
The Southeast Scholars.
Oh, okay. So Southeast Scholars, that's the easiest one, right?
There you go.
Got it. Love it. Yes, man, listen. All right, so we're here to talk about a culture of achievement. I think to me this is probably one of the most significant conversations anybody could have about education is, how do you create a context within that school that supports achievement, particularly given the kind of challenges that our students have, the more societal challenges, et cetera. But we'll start similarly to the way we started the last panel. What does achievement look like to you? I mean, what to you, if you see a student who's a high achiever, what does that look like?
When you walk into a classroom and you see scholars learning, you see teachers teaching things, and you see students really engaged, they're eager, they're anxious to share what they've heard, what they've attained, they're working, they're teaching one another, you know that a scholar really has a concept when they can sit and share a concept with their table mate, with whomever they're sitting on the floor with. They're up working backwards on the board, modeling these strategies, these skills that they've attained, that they've, eagerly watched their teachers teach to them, looking at their data and having them to own that data, making certain that when you're walking into a classroom that their data is displayed, and when you're asking them about their results, that they're actually able to articulate what this means and what that level of achievement means to them. That, to me, shows that they know what achievement is, what it means to actually earn that grade or earn that percentage that they've gotten.
So for you, achievement is what it looks like. It's a show and prove model.
Absolutely,
love
what
it,
I can
love
see.
It. Yeah, we don't have to go in order.
Okay, I definitely believe in relationships. I know that you achieve through relationships. If you have that culture deeply embedded within your school, within your building, within your system, then you will share information openly. You're free to share information. You want to bring others with you. You heard of that saying, crabs in a barrel, you don't want everyone to get there. Relationships means that you want to see everyone grow. So we are building a culture of achievement by sharing information through the relationships that we're developing as a school, not only with each other, but with the families and with the students. I love when our students come and ask questions. I told my teachers, ask questions. I even open myself up to criticism and feedback. Relationships, because I feel comfortable allowing them to give me feedback on a regular basis. But just like I told them, be prepared for me to give it back too. And guess what? We sit and we laugh about it. We close our doors. We make sure Mr. Henson, Ms. Canty not walking through because we talk real stuff. But it's all for the good of children.
Right.
So building a relationship so that there's open conversation about what's best for children.
I also think the achievement looks like scholars not being fearful to make mistakes. That teachers and their peers are there to help them in their learning process. That scholars know their data, as the other principal Carr stated. They know where they are, they know where they were, and that they themselves see growth along with the teachers helping them to document their own progress and growth. And also that encompasses the family unit. Right. So when you're talking about achievement, it's not just about that child when they're in your doors, in your walls, it's when they're out in the community. That also demonstrates achievement.
I think achievement looks like ownership. So when a student, as many have said on the panel, is asking the right questions, but they're also doing the research and doing the work themselves. And I've seen the progression of student learning at Tech Prep be so that students come up with their own projects, or they want to elaborate on experiences. The dance that you even saw today really generated from students wanting to do it. So that's what achievement looks like at Tech Prep.
And I think I agree with what I think one of the newer schools, it's changing the expectation. It's setting the expectation and letting our scholars know and understand that we believe in you, we understand you learn differently, and making the necessary adjustments for them like you spoke about today.
So 2 of you mentioned outside of the school and then parents.
Yes.
And so it's obvious then that a culture of achievement involves or includes community and parental involvement. How do we get parents to buy into the kind of school culture that is clear that you guys want developed in your institution? You know, what are some of the mechanisms through which you involve them in that process?
Well, being a new principal, when I was newly appointed, we held it was called Parents and Pastries, and really having the community to come out to understand what the vision and mission is and what it is that I want to do this year. And that was very important for me because it takes a village to really raise a child.
Indeed.
We cannot do this work alone. And I actually live in the ward in which I serve. So I know the families. Ward 8. All right. And so it's very important so that they see you as a real person. You are invested in the work that you do. You're not just talking the work, you're walking the talk. And so I think it's very important that they understood what it is that I stand for, what the mission and vision of friendship is, and understanding that I want to see you, I want you involved. This is not my school. This is our school, these are our students, and that I will work with you to see your students achieve and be college ready, because that is the vision for all friendship students.
You know, one thing that I've always found, oh man, look at that, my tie's off. Thank you for doing that, appreciate you. You know, one thing I've always firmly believed in is that the hood will support you on who you tell them that you are. And so, you know, if you go in the hood and you're in a trap, and they see you as a trap boy, then they're gonna support you in that endeavor. They're gonna be like, well, you know what, do this to maintain the trap. And if you choose to be an academic and a scholar, they will actually support you in that endeavor. They'll be like, yo, this is not for you, go upstairs. You know, so it's who you present to the community, and the community supports you in that process. And it sounds like your presence in the community allows that. My question is, to push that idea of the hood involvement or the community involvement even further, how do we get into the spaces where those who have the potential to drive the kids off path can buy into our culture of achievement?
Get out of your office, get out the building, walk the streets, learn your neighborhood, go knock on the doors, go hang out with them. That is what I do.
That's right.
I'm from DC, 3rd generation. So, there you go. My thing is, I love it. I mean, the thing is, I have honest, genuine conversations with my parents on a regular basis. I make myself available. I let them know that I am involved and I truly care about our children. Our children. It's not your children, it's our children. These are my babies now, too. I'm sharing them with you when I send them home. You send them back to me, intact. I'm trusting you, you trusting me. Beautiful. So when I go walk the neighborhoods, I go over to the corner store. I talk to the dude standing in front of the corner store and say, hey, those are my babies. You let me know if they come here and act up, okay? Because they're going to improve our community. And they say, we got you, Dr. Grant. I said, what you need? What's from the store? No cigarettes, no nothing like that. But I get you some chips and a soda. Okay? Come on, let's break bread. Let's go get some pizza. Let's go get some chicken. That's
what's up.
Okay? Then I walk the neighborhood. This is what I do.
Y'all laughing. That's real talk.
I do it. Everybody knows I do it. Okay? They laugh. The head of my security, they laugh. And my academy directors, they know if I'll go up Lincoln Heights, I'll go Langston Terrace, Carver Terrace, I'll go by myself knocking on doors. They say, Doc, why do you tell us you're going? I said, I'm good. They know I'm sincere, they know I'm genuine, because they might see me Saturday night partying with them with EU. It is what it is. Okay? So, I mean, I have my conversations every place. I mean, halfway through Essence, we talking while the music is down. Okay? At the basketball game, at the football games, wherever I find my parents, I let them know what's best, what we're going to do for our children. Then I close it off. Like I said, y'all tell me what I need, and I tell you what I need. Then I stand on that corner and do crossing guard duty morning, afternoon, every day. That's my office. Catch me in my office on the corner. I'm a corner boy, man.
If I can speak, I think also in reference to the community, having some of your meetings in the community, going to the community events as well, not just the events that are being held at your school that you're expecting parents and community to come out to. I am also from the neighborhood in which I am the principal of. When I can call out my street name, and some of the kids lived on that same street, which we call down the hill. And when you lived down the hill, that meant you were the poorest. But when kids can identify with me and with other employees in our, on our staff that currently live in the community, that speaks volumes to people coming back to make sure what someone did for me, that we're doing for all of our scholars. It's very important too that we get connected with the various community organizations and also bring additional partnerships to the community. We just have a partnership with Northrop Grumman. So what that looks like to me is that is a pipeline for employment. So we're starting in pre-K up through 8th grade, that when they get into high school, we can kind of gear them towards those high schools that are high performing, that are have the areas in which they are interested in pursuing for college, that they can get those internships because they're already having those connections with those organizations now. So that right there, that culture of achievement means it's very high, and I'm expecting everyone to meet it.
I love it.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's about.
You also have to open.
I would say to take any of the action steps that both principals have talked about, it just first starts with a recognition that not every parent has to have a traditional, or anyone who cares about a child has to have a traditional education to actually be of value. Sometimes we think our kids come to us without character, but they don't. They come full of character. They come full of grit. They come full of opportunity and hope. And so it's about leveraging that with anyone who's important in their lives, despite what obstacles they may have faced or their educational level.
Brilliantly said.
And it's also, as you recognize the school as a vital part of the community, opening your doors. So as much as you go out, allowing the community in a safe space to come in. It's not about the 7 to 3, 7 to 4, 7 to 7 times. Sometimes the alumni want to have a meeting in the evening, or the parents want to have it. It's opening the doors and showing that we want the community and we want you to be a part of our school, and how they can be a part of the school and help you.
Well said. A thought just hit me, and then I have a bunch of more questions. Well, the thought that hit me was, you guys are all sitting there, and I'm sure you guys have questions that you want to pose to them. So I'm gonna put my Twitter on. If you send the questions to me that you might want to ask them, so that you don't feel uninvolved. I'm like, man, they're just sitting there, and we sitting like we're in the living room. Maybe there are things that they want to ask. So if you tweet those questions to me, I'll ask them. But then let me now proceed. So people have said that culture is schema and practices. And you guys have done a phenomenal job describing what those practices look like. But the murky piece of developing culture is, how do you develop what's in the head of the student? What's in the mindset that allows them to buy into that culture of success? What are the strategies, or what are your approaches to be able to shift the mindset to allow that culture of success to become implemented? And I know it's a deep and profound question, but we have to cover both measures, right?
I think for our school this summer, we brought a lot of our young people in that they didn't necessarily have to attend summer school from remediation. So we developed leadership programs for them. And in those programs, we did a lot with exposing them to the African American culture. Things that sometimes we don't infuse into the curriculum. And we wait till February to highlight those things. So we started this summer with our girls and our boys leadership programs. And with that, we put in front of them individuals that can speak to them about where they started, give their experiences, and how, even though they may have made mistakes, how they turned it around. Embedding into them the expectations that we have for them. And also, the parents had to buy in to allowing them to come, each day throughout the summer. They engaged in going to different trips. They went to the Naval Academy. They went to the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore. they went to the Great Blacks and Wax Museum. So it was taking them outside during that kind of non-structured time, but feeding those brains every day.
Yes.
Going through book studies and having them to ask questions, and mainly putting people in front of them that we felt had a lot to offer to them. So that was part of instilling in the students. Of course, next year we want to expand that, and we want to carry that also into the regular part of the school year.
So I want everybody here, please, round of applause. I want the panel to hold on to the question, but I want to accentuate something that you said that I think may have gone over our heads, which is this notion of you build the schema by reestablishing the connections to our collective history. I think one thing that's happened with curriculum across the board in this country, particularly for youth of color, is an extraction of our history from the curriculum. And so when kids go into schools, they don't even know about the fact that there's an inherent scientific and mathematical piece to just being a person of color. And if that's extracted from the curriculum, it's our collective responsibility to ensure that we reinfuse that in the curriculum so they can know that we are the creators of what is known as these disciplines. I just think that was so beautifully said, and I just want to commend you on doing that work with your scholars. But for the rest of the panel, so what do you do to develop this mindset? What else are you working on?
There's a conceptual framework that I utilized when I was doing some of my research. It's called symbolic interactionism. Max Weber, George Herbert Mead. That means that, just the everyday terms, model what you expect. Think about it. You got a lot of kids over there watching the guys on the corner, and they're in their ears. So I have 20 dudes maybe on the corner. Now, I'm not saying they're bad, but sometimes they're talking to my kids, and they're not telling them the right thing. They're not saying the same thing that I'm saying in terms of how to get ahead. So I have to model on a regular basis. I'm talking about day in, day out. Because, yes, I have over 300 African-American males in my school. And I have to model for them how to get to a certain level. So every day it's at the front of my mind that these kids are watching me. They're watching how I live. They're watching what I do. They're watching what I say. They're listening. Kids are watching everything we do. And we are the models. So I made decisions some years ago to extract certain things from my daily existence so that kids could have a person, females too. That's the type of man that I want one day. So that's what I do. I model. And then we all model. We have these discussions every day. Remember, you scholarly language. That's right. The way we speak. Listen, we can turn on and off the scholar language and the everyday street lingo you find. Everyday street lingo. We can turn it on and off. But guess what? When that standardized test comes on, the ebonics are not going to be on the test. I know that we accept it and we're fighting for it, but right now, that park and the, the other one coming out, they're not smarter balanced. They're not going to have ebonics on it. Okay? We want to make sure that our kids are able to pass the standardized test. They can turn it off and on, but we have to model our expectations.
Right. That's right. I mean, oh gosh, preach. Like, so the art, being really explicit about the art of the code switch.
There it is.
Is such an important piece to this work, where you work with young people. 10 minutes? You're kidding me. Man, listen. Oh, man, listen. All right, okay, I'll close up. That you show them what it looks like to be able to navigate different spaces so they know what works when and where. I always want to say this. When folks see me speak and interact with folks, they say, oh, Dr. E's mad hood. I get that all the time. But don't get it twisted. When I'm going to go talk to the president of my university, there's a certain type of discourse that I learned to adopt. And it was a skill set to learn how to navigate both. But we cannot expect our young people to do it if we're not modeling it and being explicit about how we do that in the classroom. That's a part of instruction in the classroom.
So you have to bring it to their attention when you hear them slip up with sometimes.
Right.
And you have to say, not here. And I don't even want you saying it out there, but not here.
Right.
And as far as the guys on the corner, we've asked our guys, move somewhere else. This is our school zone. And we have an organization in our community called Safe Streets, and they even help us out during dismissal time. There's several schools that dismiss at a similar time. And then our school is the lighthouse in the community.
Beautiful.
So everybody gravitates to our schools during dismissal time. So we had some challenges with that, but we've called on that organization to help us to, to get the kids on their way. And even at dismissal time, staff is strategically placed so that we cover the whole building, so that every child is greeted, have a good evening, see you bright and early tomorrow morning. So that is also a part of that culture of achievement that I'm also expecting to see you tomorrow.
Beautiful. So it's just in the interest of time now, because they told me we only got 10 minutes, and I don't want to take up too much more time, because I want you guys to get a chance to share things. If there's one thing that you wanted to share with the folks who are here about this culture of achievement in your institutions, just give us like a quick minute-and-a-half synopsis of what that one thing that you'd want to leave everyone here with, and we can start over there and then work our way back if that's okay.
For Friendship Capital this year, it was about going back to the basics. So taking down the marquee with the hole, putting up a coat of paint, changing the language from kid to scholar, setting the expectations very high from the gate, changing the expectations and outcomes for not just our scholars, but the custodians, the individuals in the cafeteria, the teachers. Everyone has the same expectation.
Right.
And when parents and families and communities and our scholars see that, it resonates through the building. So we know we have the work to do, but taking those back to basic steps for us this first year were huge, and there's a huge difference in the 7 days we've been open.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that I would like to leave is that it goes beyond preparing kids for, college and careers. It goes beyond just the teacher having the sign on the door that indicates their college. It goes beyond the pamphlets we have in the classrooms. It even goes beyond our pre-K to 8th tours of colleges in and out of state. It goes to now bringing those professionals to our children and taking our children to those professional jobs and those organizations so that they can see how are these people working, how did they get here, what education that they need so that they can start thinking about it right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes.
I would say practice and exposure changes belief. Practice and exposure both change belief. We built a school. We were in a boys, and we are still, our middle school is in a boys and girls club, but it doesn't have to be a boys and girls club. Kids go there and they learn, and they've done amazing things even before we moved into a brand new building. And the reason why our students are starting to believe that they can be successful is because they have success. They've created success. They have something to look back on, and they're creating a legacy for the people who are coming behind them.
30 seconds each.
Okay, gotcha. Well,
30 seconds each.
That trickle-down theory doesn't work in Reaganomics, actually can work in leadership. That means I share my power with Spears, Snowden, Dow, Jarowski, Bale, Bland, Towns, and I can go through our Winley, Gooding alliance. I respect all of them, Brown, Baylor, Wright. I can say them all their names up here. So many leaders over here. So that means I share that power so they can share it with the kids. Share that knowledge, build relationships. I have great people in my building. I acknowledge it. I celebrate them.
Right.
I want them to do the same with the kids.
And finally,
be the change that you want to see. The change starts with you. You have to lead the learning. So when you want your scholars to achieve more, you have to show them that you are achieving more. We are lifelong learners. We have to continue our efforts. We have to show them that we struggle too, and we have achieved great things, and we want the same for them.
Absolutely.
So just be the change that you want to see in your scholars.
A round of applause for this amazing panel. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well done, man.
Please welcome back our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. James Waller.
We're almost at that time. We're almost. Okay, part of the spirit competition is being able to follow the rules. Okay, we hear you. We hear you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please take your seats. Thank you. Well, before we continue with this Spirit Award, the Spirit Competition, can you please join me in thanking our principal panel and Dr. Evan for leading those discussions? At Friendship, spirit is defined by the essence, zeal, and energy that brings about the right attitude and continually reignites the fire that we have for teaching and learning. Spirit probes our psyche and our emotions, questions our intentions, and helps us build the enterprise. In short, spirit not only defines what we are, but defines what we do and how we do it. With this in mind, it's time to ask two very important questions. The first question is, and I'm afraid to ask the question, who's got spirit?
Okay. All right, okay. Oh, wait a second. Lord. All right, everyone. Yes. Okay, everyone. 1 second. Yeah, thank you, DJ. Thank you, DJ. All right, everyone. Good morning. Yes, we're excited that you're excited. This has been the most excitement in the room all morning. So we are definitely excited about what, okay, 1 second. Next school that we have to get through everything, and then if you jump before your school is called, we'll have to take points away from you. All right, so really quickly, because we're on a tight schedule. So good morning, everyone. We are excited. I'm Shakira Hemphill. This is Miss Ocean. And our culture team is over here to my right, your left.
And so we are excited about this part of convocation, as we can see that you all are as well. And so we want to just go over a few things as it relates to the guidelines so that we can make sure that we are all on one accord, so that we are not bombarded at the end when we announce the winner with questions about why you all didn't win. So your principals and your administrators actually received this information last week, and we hope that they shared it with you so that everyone can make sure that you are in alignment with the regulations and the rubric. So I'm going to start with how we are actually going to determine who the winner is. So there are 3 categories, and the first is you are going to be judged on shouting out your school and your roll call. And there are 3 components to that, and it's the chant, your creativity, and then there's another part for time. So there is a 30-second limit, 30 seconds. So we hope that you all stay within that time frame. If not, then you need to make changes and adjust immediately. There is a 30-second limit. So 30 seconds or less, and we are keeping time. So please make sure, I know many of you all will hold your time as well to make sure we don't let another school go over the time. Creativity. So it's important that your chant is aligned to the theme of convocation. And what is the theme of convocation? Okay, all right, hold on 1 second. So like 5 seconds ago, you all were real hype, and now we're saying, what is the theme of convocation? Because this is how we're leading our schools this year. And I get transforming practice and educating friends, yeah, that. So we're gonna try one more time. What is the theme of convocation? That's right, great, thank you. So then we also want to base it on how you are exhibiting your spirit of your school, and then the audience reaction. So that means that we need to make sure that we give each individual campus a chance to get their chant out, and then you can react as you see fit. The last category is the chant. Well, no, I said that already, sorry. Creativity. So presentation of your chant, again, we mentioned in an email yesterday that there is to be no jumping on the tables, no standing on the tables, no standing on the chairs. Please make sure, we did see that a little earlier, so we won't hold that against you now, but please make sure that we respect the environment. We know you all are excited. You have this space here, not this space here, but please make sure that you do not jump on the chairs or do anything on the tables. We don't want to have a bill sent to you. Last part is the wearing of your school colors. So each of your schools, you either have a school color or a uniform. So if 75 to 100% of your staff is dressed uniform, then you have 50 points. If you're wearing your school colors, then it's 50 points as well. And if you have a uniform top or a t-shirt, then you're counted as 50 points as well. The last thing, the Twitter trend competition. So I'm going to let Ms. Ocean take over from here.
I just wanted to clarify, the administrator retweeting your tweets is actually from the friendship account, not your principal or your instructional specialist, but from the friendship PCS account.
So what we will do, because this morning there were, Mr. Waller mentioned that the administrator had to retweet, we will count those tweets, but up until this point from 11:10 until 2 o'clock p.m., we will only count the tweets that are retweeted by Friendship Public Charter School. You all are doing a fantastic job. The tweets are coming. Make sure that you include FPCS Convocation 2014 as well as your individual school. So each school, if you have a question about your hashtag, please see your administrator as well. So without further ado, we are going to start with the chant roll call, and we're not doing it in any particular order. So we are going to start with FPCS Baltimore Calverton. Thank you, Calverton. I see some shade from Collegiate. I don't know if this is like the new thing that they're doing. They have like newspapers and sunglasses on. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move to Friendship Collegiate Academy. All right, thank you, Friendship Collegiate Academy. We're going to move to Friendship Southeast. All right. Thank you, Southeast. Friendship Blow Pierce. All right, Blow Pierce. Thank you for your awesomeness. Friendship Tech Prep. Thank you, Tech Prep. Friendship Cherry Hill. I wonder if they got enough. We need to have them do it. Yeah. Yeah. It was dry. Hey, hey. Oh. Whoa, yes. Good job. Great job, Cherry Hill. I mean, everybody else did a good job too, but no, great job. All right. Friendship Woodridge. Thank you, Woodridge. And last but not least, Friendship Chamberlain. Thank you, Chamberlain. We have one more announcement.
Okay, before we continue, at new teacher induction, Chamberlain, Cherry Hill, and Calverton Chamberlain accumulated 25 points, and Cherry Hill and Calverton accumulated 12.5 each. So they are in the lead right now. So, yeah.
And okay, really quickly. So, what Miss? Okay, you all now don't boo each other. Now, what that means is, what she's saying is that during new teacher induction, the new teachers had to actually do a talent. There was a talent show, and it was aligned to what they worked on throughout the week. And so Chamberlain actually won that week, and then Calverton and Cherry Hill. Okay, all right. Now, what that means is that we just gave them additional points, but that does not mean that they are winning. That means that they just have additional points. So again, we think that you all just had like a dry run of what you just did. You all sounded like it was just like impactful before you even did your chants. So we're gonna give you one more time. I think that we can just get a little bit more amped up, get more excited, and then we'll see what happens if you, so we're gonna give you one more opportunity, and then we're gonna close it out. So one more opportunity to do your chant. Not together, not collectively, individually. So we'll call you by campus. Please make sure that once your campus is called, that you say your chant, you sit back down. Do not prolong it. All right, so we're gonna start with Blow Pierce. All right, thank you, Fight Knights. All right, Friendship Southeast. Thank you. Friendship Calverton. I saw him. All right, thank you, Calverton. Friendship Collegiate. They don't need them drums. They don't need those drums. Look at Miss Grayson. All right. Thank you. Friendship Tech Prep. Thank you, Tech Prep. Friendship Chamberlain. All right, thank you. All right, make sure you all clean that up. Friendship Cherry Hill. Hey, hey. Good job. Friendship Woodridge. All right. We saved the best for last. Where Southeast already went. So the community office. Why y'all looking like that? Just give us a round of applause. Yes. We try every year. One year we're going to get it right. All right. So at this time, we want to just remind you all to continue tweeting. Please make sure that you understand moving forward from this point that your administrator, when they retweeted your tweets, that those will be accepted. But at this point, we are only counting, from this point moving forward, we are only counting the, 11:10. Thank you, Ms. Ocean. From 11:10 until now, we are only counting the tweets that are retweeted by Friendship Public Charter School. So you need to make sure that you're following Friendship Public Charter School so you can see which ones are being retweeted. Again, we will come back and we will have our final announcement to see who takes home the 2014-2015 Friendship Spirit Stick. Yes, Bagani.
Okay, we got it. Okay. 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 You know, I knew it was dangerous to ask the question, who's got spirit, but it's definitely obvious that there's a lot of spirit in the room. I was checking my Twitter feed, okay? And hashtag ALS is beating us, okay? So people are dumping water on their heads and they're beating us in the Twitter feed. So make sure you're tweeting with the friendship hashtags. Now it's time to, let's thank the Culture Committee for that. I also want to make one more comment. 2 years ago, if you remember, we had a performance by one of our campuses that they came up here and showed a video and then sat down, and that was their spirit competition. That was Tech Prep. So I'm going to honorarily give Tech Prep Most Improved. I think it has something to do with moving into a new building to get you excited. We are now going to take a 20-minute break to prepare for lunch. And during this break, stretch your legs, use the restroom, get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. When we return, we're going to hear from our 2013 Teacher of the Year. So we have to. So listen very carefully, okay? What we're going to do is we have to clear this room, and we have to clear it very quickly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask the culture team. The culture team, can you leave the room right now? Culture team, leave the room. So the culture team is leaving the room. So what you want to do is impress the culture team in the lobby, okay? So they are leaving the room. So if you're chanting in this room, no one's going to hear it. Okay, so I need you to leave the room and take everything off the tables. We're going to return in 20 minutes. Leave the room and take everything off the table. You can put it on the chairs, but take everything off the tables. Thank you, and we'll reconvene in 20 minutes.